Captain Elias Ward stood at the edge of the observation deck, looking at the vast expanse of stars stretching across the void of space. The human ship Aurora floated silently in orbit around a newly discovered planet, its surface a swirl of green and blue, dotted with white clouds. It was the kind of planet that promised both opportunity and danger. Elias's mind, sharp and steady, considered both. Humans had always thrived by exploring, by daring to step where others feared. This mission was no different. "Captain, all systems report ready for planetary scan," said Lieutenant Mara Jin, her voice calm but carrying the tension she always held in dangerous situations. She had been with Elias for over 5 years and her loyalty was unquestionable. "Good," Elias replied, his eyes still fixed on the planet. "Prepare the drones. I want every inch of this world scanned before we set foot on it." The Aurora's drones launched like silver birds, gliding silently toward the planet. Elias watched their feed, observing mountains that stretched like jagged teeth, rivers that glittered in the sunlight, and dense forests that seemed to whisper secrets of 1,000 years. Yet something in the data made his brow tighten. "Captain, I'm picking up unusual energy readings near the northern continent," Mara said. Her finger hovered over the holographic controls, highlighting the readings. "It's not like anything we've seen." "It's artificial." Elias leaned closer. "Artificial? Show me." The hologram shifted, revealing a strange pattern on the surface. Angular structures stretched over kilometers, emitting pulses of energy that resonated with a strange rhythm. It looked almost like a city, but unlike any human or known alien architecture. "Could be a research facility or a settlement," Elias said cautiously. "We'll need to investigate, but we must be careful. We don't know what's waiting for us." Before Mara could respond, the ship's alarms blared. Red lights flashed across the deck. "Captain, we're being scanned." "Multiple signals fast approaching," Mara shouted. Elias straightened, his calmness unshaken. "Shields up. Lock weapons. Let's see who's interested in us." Within moments, the sensors revealed dozens of alien ships, sleek and metallic, their designs unlike anything humans had encountered. They moved with precision like a coordinated hunting pack. Their markings were unfamiliar yet regal, signaling authority. Elias's heart beat steadily, as it always did in moments like this. Humans were brave because we had no choice but to face the unknown. "Evasive maneuvers," he ordered, fingers flying over the controls. The Aurora darted among the stars, twisting and turning in ways that challenged the alien formation. The enemy, however, adapted quickly. "Captain, they're matching our movements." They know our tactics," Mara said, her voice tinged with awe and fear. Elias clenched his jaw. "They underestimate humans. Big mistake." The alien fleet moved closer, firing pulses of energy that forced the Aurora to dodge repeatedly. Sparks danced along the ship's shields. This was no ordinary encounter. Elias realized immediately that these beings were highly advanced, possibly an entire empire capable of interstellar control. A voice crackled over the alien communication channels, strangely melodic yet commanding. Elias, through his translator, understood a single word repeated in their language: "Surrender." He smiled, though only slightly. "Humans don't surrender," he muttered. He activated the ship's stealth systems, a risky maneuver designed to make the Aurora invisible to enemy sensors for a short period. The ship flickered and disappeared from the alien fleet's view. "Captain, they're still tracking us," Mara exclaimed, alarmed. Elias's mind raced. "Good. Let them think we're just ordinary prey. We'll use that against them." He had a plan, but it required calm nerves and perfect timing. Humans were clever. They survived because they adapted faster than any other species. The fleet finally relented, circling the planet instead of attacking directly. Elias realized this was not a hunt to destroy, but a test. Whoever commanded this fleet was curious. Intrigued, even. He glanced at the data streaming across the display. One thing was clear: they were not invaders in the sense of conquest. They were organized, disciplined, and observing him. "Captain, this is not just a scouting party. This is an Empire-level operation," Mara said, voice trembling. "If they decide to attack," Elias cut her off, his tone firm, "then we'll be ready. But I think they want something else. Something more personal." Days passed as Elias and Mara continued their reconnaissance. The aliens, later identified through intercepted transmissions as the Cerealian Empire, kept their distance but monitored every human movement. Elias learned quickly about their patterns, their communication methods, and even some of their cultural nuances. He discovered the heart of the empire, ruled by a young queen, Cerelia, only 23 years old. Known across star systems for her brilliance and her iron will, Elias knew one thing: the queen would eventually demand to meet him. He would be captured eventually, but Elias did not plan to resist. Not because he lacked courage, but because he had a different plan, one that required him to walk willingly into her court. "Captain, you're seriously thinking of letting them take you?" Mara asked incredulously one evening, their ship orbiting silently above the northern continent. Elias smiled faintly. "Yes, humans survive because we do the unexpected. They expect fear. They expect resistance. But what if we showed them confidence instead? What if we walked in willingly?" Mara shook her head. "That's insane, maybe," Elias said. "But brilliant too. The queen is young, yes, but she's smart. She wants to understand humans, test them, and I intend to give her exactly that, a human she cannot ignore." Meanwhile, in the distant towers of the Cerelian Empire, Queen Cerelia observed the human from afar. She had seen his movements, his careful evasion, his intelligence. He did not flee. He did not panic. He moved with purpose, as if he knew exactly what he was doing. That was unusual for a human. Most would have fled or fought blindly. Cerelia's curiosity was piqued. At 23, she had commanded fleets, outmaneuvered rival houses, and maintained order across dozens of star systems. Yet this human, something about him drew her attention. She issued a command to her generals. "Capture him," she said simply, her voice firm but carrying a spark of interest. "But do not harm him." "I wish to meet him myself." Her generals exchanged glances. To disobey a direct command was impossible, but they all understood. The queen's curiosity was as sharp as her judgment. They began preparations for the capture operation. The human was to be taken alive, unharmed, and brought to the queen's throne room. Back on the Aurora, Elias prepared for the inevitable. He did not feel fear. Instead, he felt anticipation. Humans had always thrived in impossible situations, using brains more than brawn. He began studying the alien fleet's patterns, predicting the best moment to allow himself to be captured. Not as a prisoner, but as a visitor of purpose. "Captain, this still feels like walking into a trap," Mara said, watching him analyze the incoming fleet data. "Exactly," Elias replied. "But it's a trap I am turning into an opportunity. We will survive because humans never act predictably. We think, we adapt. We turn disadvantage into advantage." Hours later, the alien fleet struck. Sleek ships surrounded the Aurora, cutting off all escape routes. Yet Elias remained calm. "Prepare for boarding," he ordered. "Remember, we do this our way." As the alien forces approached, shimmering energy nets launched from their ships. The Aurora was disabled, its engines temporarily neutralized. Human crew braced for impact, yet Elias did not panic. When the boarding craft docked, he stood at the entrance, waiting. When the Cerelian soldiers arrived, their armor gleaming and weapons raised, Elias stepped forward. His hands were visible, unarmed, and his expression calm. "I am Captain Elias Ward of the human ship Aurora," he said clearly, looking directly at the lead officer. "I understand I am to be taken to your queen. I am ready." The soldiers hesitated. No human had ever greeted them like this. No human had walked willingly into their hands. Yet Elias did not falter. His composure radiated confidence, intelligence, and courage. One soldier spoke into a communicator. Moments later, the fleet's commander responded, and the message reached Queen Cerelia. The young queen's eyes narrowed, her interest sharpening. This human, walking into her capture willingly, was unlike any she had encountered, and for the first time she smiled. Not cruelly, not condescendingly, but with genuine curiosity. "Bring him to me," she commanded. Elias had walked into a trap, yes. But he walked in not as prey, but as a representative of humanity. Confident, clever, and unafraid. And that simple fact would shape everything to come. Humans had survived the impossible before, and in the heart of the Cerelian Empire they were about to do it again. Captain Elias Ward was escorted through the Cerelian boarding craft, a sleek vessel of shimmering metal and energy fields, by soldiers who moved with precise discipline. Unlike anything humans had faced, these aliens were tall, with elongated limbs and faces framed by metallic crests. Their eyes glowed faintly, revealing intelligence and alertness. Elias's calm gaze never wavered. Fear would serve him nothing here. Only careful observation and cleverness could. The ship hummed with power as it moved through the alien fleet toward the Cerealian capital. Elias noted every detail, the patterns of their patrols, the way soldiers communicated silently through gestures, the flow of energy through the vessel. Humans had always survived in hostile environments by studying their surroundings, and he intended to continue that tradition. "Captain, we need a plan," Mara whispered, her voice low as they were left briefly alone in a small holding area. "They outnumber us 100 to 1. Elias studied her calmly. "We don't fight them with numbers. We fight with brains. Observe everything. Learn everything. That is how humans survive." Mara nodded, understanding his reasoning, even if it frightened her. Elias's calm was infectious, reminding her that humans had overcome impossible odds before, and he intended to show that same resilience now. Meanwhile, in the capital, Queen Cerealia sat upon her throne, her posture regal, her eyes focused on the holographic display of the human ship. She had commanded the capture, yet her interest in this human was not just tactical, it was personal. At 23, she had already conquered challenges most rulers would never face, yet this human drew her attention in a way that unsettled her expectations. "He walks into our territory with no fear," she said softly to her generals. "No other species would dare. He is curious, clever, and brave. I want to see this human myself." Her chief advisor, a tall figure with a shimmering voice, bowed. "Your Majesty, should we restrain him more tightly?" Cerealia shook her head. "No. Let him walk willingly. Observe his behavior. This will tell us more about humans than force ever could." Back aboard the Cerealian transport, Elias had already begun his subtle strategy. Humans had survived ambushes, betrayals, and overwhelming odds by thinking several steps ahead. Now was no different. He studied the energy patterns of the ship, identifying weak points in the containment fields. The soldiers guarding him were disciplined but predictable. They relied on force and routine. Elias relied on observation and adaptability. "Captain, are you planning to escape?" Mara asked cautiously. "Not yet," Elias replied. "We are not prisoners, we are visitors. This is our opportunity to study them from inside. Every detail we learn increases our survival chances. Remember, the Queen wants to meet me. That is where the game truly begins." Hours passed as the transport glided silently through the Empire. Elias and Mara observed the alien formations outside, noting the immense scale of the fleet. Hundreds of ships moved in precise patterns, surrounding the transport as if it were the heart of a living organism. Yet Elias remained calm. Humans thrived because they adapted, and he had already begun adapting to the alien environment. At one point, the transport entered a region of space where energy readings fluctuated wildly. The ship shuddered and alarms blared. The soldiers flinched. Elias, however, did not. He noticed the fluctuations were not random. They were controlled, designed to test the transport's response. "Interesting," he muttered. "They are measuring reactions, not just movement. They want data." Mara frowned. "They're testing us?" "Exactly," Elias said, "and we will give them what they want. Confidence. A human who is calm, intelligent, and capable. That will be far more dangerous than fear." When the transport finally arrived at the capital, the scale of the city struck Elias. Towers of crystalline metal rose into the sky, reflecting the light of multiple suns. Floating platforms connected structures, and energy shields shimmered in the atmosphere. The city was a testament to the Cerealian Empire's technological mastery, yet it was orderly, precise, and intimidating. The soldiers led Elias and Mara through corridors of glowing panels and holographic displays. Each step revealed more about the Empire, its discipline, its intelligence, its strength. Humans had survived harsh environments and tyrants before, but this was different. This was a civilization that had mastered both technology and strategy. As they approached the holding chamber, Elias paused. He studied the guards, noting their routines and communication signals. He whispered to Mara, "Observe. Learn. We are not yet playing for survival. We are playing to understand. That is how humans win." The chamber doors opened, revealing a large room filled with holographic projections of the galaxy. Soldiers stood at attention along the walls. Elias's eyes scanned the room, noting the energy conduits running across the ceiling and the patterns of surveillance devices. This was a controlled environment designed to intimidate and test. Yet Elias did not falter. Humans thrived in chaos by turning it into advantage, and he intended to do the same. The door at the far end of the chamber slid open, revealing a figure that made the room feel smaller despite its vastness. Queen Cerelia stepped forward, her movements precise and deliberate. Her presence was commanding, yet there was curiosity in her eyes. Curiosity about the human who had walked willingly into her domain. "Captain Elias Ward," she said, her voice melodic yet firm. "You walk into my empire without fear. Why?" Elias stepped forward, his posture confident but respectful. "Your Majesty, humans survive because we face the unknown. We do not run. We do not surrender. We observe, we adapt, and we act. I walked here willingly because I wished to meet you, not as a prisoner, but as a representative of my people." Cerelia's eyes narrowed slightly. No other human had spoken with such calm confidence. Most would have pleaded, begged, or shown fear. Yet here was one who stood with dignity, intelligence, and courage. "You are bold," she said softly. "Bold and foolish. Do you not understand the danger you face?" "I understand perfectly," Elias replied. "Danger is what makes survival meaningful. Humans have faced impossible odds before. We do not act out of recklessness but out of understanding. And now I understand enough to walk into your court willingly." The queen studied him, intrigued. Her advisors whispered among themselves, uncertain how to respond. Cerelia, however, made a decision. This human was not like the others. He would be observed, tested, and perhaps trusted. "Very well, Captain," she said finally. "You will remain under observation, but you will not be harmed, for now." Elias inclined his head slightly, acknowledging the queen's authority without fear. Humans had always respected strength, yet never bowed to it blindly. They earned respect through action, ingenuity, and courage, and Elias intended to show her exactly why humans were remarkable. As he was escorted to a secure chamber within the palace, Elias continued his careful observations. Every detail of the architecture, every guard pattern, every energy field was noted. This was not imprisonment. It was an opportunity. Humans thrived when they adapted, and adaptation required knowledge. That night, as the alien city shimmered under the light of distant suns, Elias reflected on the journey so far. Humans had survived in deserts, oceans, forests, and the harsh vacuum of space. They had overcome predators, rival factions, and countless disasters. Now they faced an empire unlike any other. Yet Elias felt no fear. He turned to Mara, who had remained quietly observing. "Tomorrow we meet the Queen again. We learn, we understand, and we survive, because humans always do." Mara nodded, her confidence strengthened by his calm determination. Humans had faced impossible odds before, and Elias was about to show that even in the heart of a vast and powerful empire, humans were not to be underestimated. Outside, in her throne room, Queen Cerelia reviewed the reports of her generals. The human had walked into her domain willingly, confident and composed. That alone was extraordinary. Most species would have panicked, fought, or begged for mercy. This human had done neither. "Prepare the next phase," she commanded. "I want to test him further. Let us see what humans are truly capable of." And so the stage was set. A young queen, brilliant and powerful, and a human captain, clever and fearless, were about to engage in a silent game of observation, strategy, and respect. Neither knew how it would end, but one thing was certain: the human spirit would not be ignored. Humans had survived the impossible before, and now in the heart of the Cerealian Empire they were about to show once again that courage, intelligence, and adaptability could triumph even in the face of overwhelming odds. Captain Elias Ward had prepared himself for this moment for hours. The hallway leading to the Queen's throne room was unlike anything humans had ever seen. Crystal walls pulsed with light, and streams of energy ran along the floor like rivers of light. Guards lined the walls, standing motionless, yet every movement of theirs was precise, alert, and ready. Elias's calm demeanor remained unshaken. He had walked into this empire willingly, and he would not falter now. Lieutenant Mara Jin followed closely, her eyes wide with both fear and awe. "Captain, are you sure about this?" she whispered. Elias gave her a small nod. "This is what humans do. We face the unknown with courage. We observe, adapt, and act. Fear will not save us, but intelligence and composure will." They moved forward, escorted by silent Cerealian guards. Elias noticed every detail, the patterns of light, the subtle signals the guards exchanged, and the way the air itself seemed charged with energy. Everything was designed to intimidate, yet he understood that it was also a test. Humans survived because they adapted to tests. This was no different. Finally, they reached the massive doors of the throne room. They were taller than any human structure Elias had seen, carved from a material that shimmered like liquid silver. The doors slowly parted, revealing the Queen. Cerealia sat upon her throne, a figure of elegance, power, and intelligence. At 23, she had already mastered strategy, command, and leadership that most rulers would spend a lifetime learning. Her eyes, bright and sharp, fixed on Elias with a mixture of curiosity and calculation. "Captain Elias Ward," she said, her voice clear and melodic. "You have entered my empire willingly. Few have such courage, and even fewer have the composure to do it wisely. Tell me, human, why?" Elias stepped forward, his posture respectful yet confident. "Your Majesty, humans survive because we face the unknown. We do not hide, and we do not surrender to fear. We observe, we adapt, and we act. I walked here willingly because I wish to meet you not as a prisoner, but as a representative of my people." The Queen tilted her head slightly, studying him. Most humans would have quivered, begged, or shown fear. Elias showed none. His confidence was quiet but unshakable. This was not arrogance. It was awareness. He understood the value of calm, intelligence, and courage. "You speak with great confidence," Cerealia said, "but confidence alone does not ensure survival. Humans are small, weak in comparison to my empire. What makes you think your people are worth observing?" Elias met her gaze steadily. "Your Majesty, humans survive the impossible every day. We face disasters, predators, and challenges that would destroy other species. We do not always win by strength, but by intelligence, cooperation, and determination. Even a single human can change the outcome of a conflict if they act wisely." The Queen leaned forward, intrigued. "Is that so? Perhaps we shall see." Cerealia waved her hand, and holographic projections filled the throne room. They displayed star systems, planetary surfaces, and fleet movements across the galaxy. Elias studied them quickly, recognizing patterns and strategies. He realized the Queen was testing his comprehension and perception. "You observe well," she said. "Most species would be overwhelmed by this information. Yet you seem capable." "I have learned that observation is the first step to understanding," Elias replied. "Humans survive because we pay attention to details even in chaos. Knowledge is as important as strength." The Queen's eyes narrowed slightly, not in anger but in thought. "Very well, Captain. Let us test your understanding further. Tell me, what is your purpose in entering my empire?" Elias took a deep breath. "Exploration, understanding. Humans seek knowledge, not conquest. But we also seek allies where they make sense, and we adapt to threats when necessary. I came to understand your people, not to challenge your power. Yet I am prepared to act wisely if danger arises." Cerealia considered his words carefully. Humans were known across the galaxy as clever but unpredictable. Many species underestimated them, believing them weak and fragile. Yet this human, he was not weak. He was calm, intelligent, and strategic. "You are different from other humans I have studied," she said quietly. "Most would flee. Most would resist blindly. You walk into the heart of my empire willingly, calm and observant. That is unusual. I believe that true strength is shown through courage and intelligence, not fear." Elias replied. "Humans survive because we use every tool at our disposal. our minds, our teamwork, and our courage. The queen studied him silently, then leaned back in her throne. I see. Perhaps your people are worth more attention than I initially believed. Tell me, Captain, if I were to place you in danger, what would you do? Elias did not hesitate. Your Majesty, I would act to survive. But survival is not the only goal. Humans seek to adapt, to overcome, and to turn challenges into opportunity. If I am in danger, I will study the situation, understand it, and act wisely. That is how my people survive. Cerelia's lips curved slightly into a smile, almost imperceptible. Most humans would have faltered, but Elias spoke with the calm authority of someone who had faced impossible odds and survived. That alone commanded respect. Very well, the queen said. You have walked into my domain willingly. You have shown composure, intelligence, and courage. But humans are not invincible. Do you understand the risk you face here? I understand perfectly, Elias replied. But humans do not survive by avoiding risk. We survive by facing it with courage and using our intelligence to turn danger into opportunity. For a moment, silence filled the room. The only sound was the soft hum of energy flowing through the throne room's crystal walls. Cerelia studied him carefully, realizing that humans were far more resilient than most species credited them for. You are bold, she said at last, bold and remarkably clever. Perhaps we shall see just how capable you are. Elias inclined his head slightly, acknowledging her words. He had gained her attention not through strength or weapons, but through courage, composure, and intelligence, qualities that humans had perfected over millennia. The queen stood and walked down from her throne, her presence commanding but not threatening. She approached Elias, observing him closely. Most humans would not survive this meeting. Yet you are here, calm and observant. You are unusual, perhaps, Elias said quietly. But humans have always thrived in impossible situations. We survive because we think, adapt, and act. That is what makes us strong. Cerelia's eyes flickered with interest. She had encountered cunning humans before, but none like this. His confidence was not arrogance. It was clarity. His composure was not fearlessness. It was awareness. He was a human who understood both danger and opportunity, a combination that few could match. You have walked willingly into my empire, she said, and yet you have not submitted. You have not begged. You have not shown fear. Tell me, human, what is your goal? My goal, Your Majesty, Elias replied steadily, is to understand, to learn, and to survive. Humans have always thrived because we adapt to the unknown. I wish to meet you not as a prisoner, but as a representative of my people, to show you that humans are more than what you expect. The queen considered his words. Few species could speak with such clarity and purpose in her presence. Most would falter, intimidated by the grandeur of the throne room, the power she radiated, or the overwhelming scale of the empire. Yet Elias stood calmly, meeting her gaze with intelligence and courage. You are impressive, Cerelia admitted softly. Few beings would dare what you have done. Few would speak as you have, perhaps. Humans are worth understanding after all. Elias allowed himself a small, respectful nod. Humans had survived the impossible before, and now he had shown that they could do so even in the heart of a vast empire. Very well, Captain, the queen said finally. You will remain under observation, but you will not be harmed. For now, we shall see how humans act when tested further. Elias's mind raced with possibilities. This was not just a meeting. It was the beginning of a game, a test of intelligence, courage, and adaptability. Humans thrived in challenges. They had survived floods, storms, predators, wars, and cosmic dangers. And now in the heart of the Cerelian Empire, they were about to prove that their spirit could not be ignored. As he was escorted back to his chamber, Elias felt a quiet satisfaction. Humans had survived against impossible odds before, and now they were showing once again that courage, intelligence, and resilience could shine even in the most intimidating circumstances. Outside, Queen Cerelia watched his departure, her mind filled with curiosity. This human had walked into her empire willingly, unafraid and calm. She had seen courage, intelligence, and strategy in action, qualities that commanded respect. Prepare the next phase, she commanded. We will see what humans are truly capable of. Let the game continue. And so the silent duel of minds began, a young queen and a human captain, both testing each other, observing, learning, and measuring courage, intelligence, and adaptability. Neither knew how it would end, but one thing was certain. Humanity would not be ignored. Humans had survived the impossible before. And now in the throne room of the Cerealian Empire, they were about to do it again. Captain Elias Ward sat in the observation chamber of the Cerealian Palace, the walls glowing softly with shifting lights. Beside him, Lieutenant Mara Jin quietly monitored the energy readings from the city and the surrounding fleet. The room was filled with holographic projections of star systems, planetary defenses, and fleet formations. It was overwhelming, but Elias remained calm. Humans thrived in complexity. They survived where others failed because they could think clearly, adapt quickly, and act decisively. Queen Cerealia entered the chamber, her presence commanding yet graceful. At 23, she carried herself with the confidence of someone who had already mastered the governance of an empire, spanning hundreds of star systems. Her eyes, sharp and intelligent, focused on Elias. She had studied him closely over the past days and found herself both impressed and intrigued. "Captain Elias," she said, her voice carrying authority and curiosity, "you have demonstrated courage and intelligence in the face of my empire." Most humans would have faltered by now. "You, however, remain calm and observant. Tell me, what do you see in my empire?" Elias looked around the chamber. "Your empire is powerful, well-structured, and disciplined. You have resources and strategies that many species would envy. But there are vulnerabilities, areas where adaptation and clever tactics could make a difference." Cerealia raised an eyebrow. "Vulnerabilities? Do you mean to challenge me?" "Not challenge, Your Majesty," Elias replied carefully. "I only wish to provide perspective. Humans survive because we notice details others miss, and we use our intelligence and creativity to turn challenges into opportunities. That is all I offer, and insight." The Queen studied him silently. She had already observed that this human was different from any other species she had encountered. He walked willingly into her empire, faced her throne without fear, and spoke boldly yet respectfully. Most species would have been broken by the overwhelming power she wielded, yet here he was, calm, confident, and aware. "Very well," she said finally. "We are about to face a crisis that may threaten both humans and my empire. A storm approaches, not of weather, but of cosmic energy. It is unlike anything we have encountered. I wish to hear your thoughts, Captain. How would you respond?" Elias studied the holographic projections, analyzing the patterns of the approaching storm. Streams of energy twisted and collided in space, threatening to disrupt planetary shields and disable fleet operations. It was dangerous but not insurmountable. "This storm is highly unstable," Elias said, pointing at the projections. "It will interfere with shields, disrupt energy channels, and possibly damage infrastructure. But with careful planning and cooperation, it can be managed. Humans have faced disasters of similar scale and complexity before." "We can help you respond effectively." Cerealia's eyes narrowed. "Humans can survive disasters, yes. But can you operate on a scale that spans multiple star systems?" Elias met her gaze confidently. "Humans adapt. We work together, observe carefully, and act decisively. Even one human properly guided can make a difference, and a coordinated team can accomplish what would seem impossible. I propose a strategy to neutralize this storm using your fleet, my expertise, and human ingenuity." The Queen considered this carefully. Humans were unpredictable, but Elias had proven himself capable, clever, and calm. Perhaps his people could indeed offer a solution her empire lacked. "Explain your plan," she said. Elias activated a projection of the storm, showing its energy flows and weak points. "The storm moves in predictable patterns," he explained. "It will strike areas of high energy first. If we position your fleet strategically, we can channel the storm's energy into controlled zones, minimizing damage. Human teams can be sent to critical points to stabilize the affected areas. We combine your technology with human adaptability and problem-solving skills. That way we protect your empire while minimizing risk." Cerealia studied the display, impressed by the clarity of his thinking. Most species would have panicked or made simple defensive decisions. Elias had proposed a proactive, precise, and intelligent plan, exactly what humans were known for. "You speak with confidence," she said softly. "Confidence is valuable, but humans are still fragile compared to my empire. How do you propose to manage the risk?" Elias smiled faintly. "By observation, preparation, and teamwork. Humans survive because we never face a challenge alone. We rely on cooperation, careful planning, and rapid adaptation. The key is to stay calm, Assess each situation and act decisively when the moment comes. Cerelia's advisors whispered among themselves, uncertain how to respond. The young queen, however, had already made her decision. This human had earned her respect. "Very well, Captain," she said. "We will implement your strategy. You and your team will work alongside my forces. Show us what humans are truly capable of." The next hours were a whirlwind of preparation. Elias coordinated with Cerelia's fleet commanders, analyzing energy flow, shield capacities, and fleet positioning. Mara assisted, ensuring that every calculation was accurate and every projection precise. Human ingenuity combined with Cerelian technology created a plan that was both daring and methodical. When the storm finally arrived, the true test began. Cosmic energy surged through space, disrupting communication channels and destabilizing planetary shields. Aliens and humans alike worked tirelessly, following the strategy Elias had outlined. His calm guidance and quick thinking allowed teams to stabilize critical points, redirect energy flows, and minimize destruction. From the observation chamber, Queen Cerelia watched in awe. Humans had faced impossible odds before, but seeing one operate so effectively at this scale was extraordinary. He was not just surviving. He was leading, solving problems, and turning a potential disaster into a manageable situation. Hours passed as the storm raged. Elias remained focused, analyzing every fluctuation, predicting every surge, and directing teams with clarity. His presence inspired confidence in both human and alien allies. Where panic could have spread, courage and intelligence prevailed. Finally, the storm began to dissipate. Shields stabilized, fleet formations held, and critical infrastructure remained intact. Cerelia allowed herself a small smile. Humans were more resilient than most species realized. Elias had proven that even against overwhelming cosmic forces, human ingenuity and teamwork could triumph. "You have done well, Captain Elias," the Queen said when the storm had passed. "Your people have value beyond what I imagined. Courage, intelligence, and adaptability. These qualities are rare. Humans are more than capable of surviving the impossible." Elias nodded respectfully. "Thank you, Your Majesty. Humans survive because we adapt, cooperate, and act wisely. We respect strength, but we also show ingenuity when faced with challenge. That is how we thrive." Cerelia studied him carefully. "Indeed, perhaps there is much my empire can learn from your species. Today, humans have shown not just survival, but leadership, clarity, and strategy. You have my respect." Elias allowed himself a small smile. Respect had been earned, not demanded. Humans survived by proving themselves through action, not words. And today had been proof. Mara looked at him, her eyes wide with admiration. "Captain, you did it. You actually did it. You proved humans can make a difference here." Elias's gaze returned to the Queen. "It was not just me. Humans survived through teamwork, preparation, and intelligence. My people would have succeeded together just as we did today." Cerelia considered this. The human had shown her that strength was not just measured by fleet size or technology, but by courage, adaptability, and problem-solving. Perhaps humans could become partners rather than subjects, allies rather than curiosities. "Captain Elias," she said finally, "your people have earned a place in this empire's consideration. Humans are clever, brave, and resilient. I see now that they are capable of far more than I imagined." Elias inclined his head, respectful but firm. "Your Majesty, humans have always thrived in impossible situations. We do not seek conquest, only understanding and survival. But we also bring ingenuity, courage, and determination, qualities that can benefit any alliance." The Queen nodded. "Then let this be the beginning of understanding between humans and the Cerelian Empire. You have proven the value of your species through action, not words. I will not forget it." Elias allowed himself a moment of quiet satisfaction. Humans had survived the impossible before, and now they had shown it again, not through weapons or overwhelming power, but through intelligence, courage, and cooperation. The storm had tested them, and humans had triumphed. Outside the observation chamber, the Cerelian Empire was beginning to see humans differently. No longer were they fragile or weak. They were clever, brave, and capable of achieving what few others could. And at the center of it all stood Captain Elias Ward, a human who had faced a cosmic threat and emerged not just alive, but respected. The alliance formed in those hours was more than a partnership against a storm. It was proof that humanity could stand alongside the greatest powers in the galaxy and make a difference. Courage, intelligence, and adaptability had triumphed, and the Queen had witnessed it herself. Humans had survived the impossible before. And now, in the heart of the Cerealian Empire, they were not just surviving, they were shaping the future. The cosmos outside the Cerealian capital shimmered with energy as warning signals blared across the observation chamber. Captain Elias Ward stood with Lieutenant Mara Jin, watching the projections of approaching fleets in a massive energy anomaly that threatened not just the capital, but the entire star system. The earlier storm had been a challenge, but this was an entirely different test. Queen Cerealia entered the chamber, her presence as commanding as ever. Her eyes scanned the displays, noting every movement, every anomaly. She had relied on humans once before, during the cosmic storm, and their ingenuity had proven invaluable. Now, faced with a far greater threat, she turned to Elias with a mix of curiosity, trust, and anticipation. "Captain Elias," she said, her voice steady and measured. "This threat comes not from the cosmos alone, but from forces seeking to challenge the Cerealian Empire. Our fleets are prepared, but I want your counsel. How should we respond?" Elias studied the projections. Enemy ships moved with precision and coordination, but there were patterns. There were weaknesses. Human intuition and experience, honed over centuries of survival, allowed him to see opportunities that technology alone could not. "Your Majesty," Elias began, pointing at the holographic map. "The enemy relies heavily on brute force and predictable formations. If we anticipate their movements and use agility, surprise, and coordination, we can neutralize their advantage. Your fleet is powerful, but their tactics exploit rigidity. Humans survive and thrive by adapting faster than any opponent expects." Cerelia's gaze sharpened. "Explain, Captain. How do you propose we act?" Elias activated a series of holographic overlays, highlighting routes, energy channels, and vulnerable points. "We divide your fleet into flexible squads, each with clear objectives. Human teams, small but strategic, will target key energy nodes and communication links. We redirect the enemy's fire toward safe zones, minimizing damage while disrupting their coordination. Precision, observation, and timing will turn their strength against them." Mara added quietly, "The calculations show a high probability of success, Captain. If we can act quickly and maintain coordination." Elias nodded. "Then we act. Humans thrive in high-pressure situations. Focus, courage, and ingenuity. That is how we survive. And that is how we will succeed." Within hours, the combined forces of humans and the Cerealian Empire moved into position. Fleet formations shifted with precision. Small human teams infiltrated critical nodes, and energy channels were redirected to strategic zones. The enemy, confident in their overwhelming numbers, did not expect such coordinated adaptability. From the observation chamber, Queen Cerealia watched the battle unfold. Her fleets moved with discipline, yet it was the humans' ingenuity that turned the tide. Captain Elias Ward's strategies were precise, calculated, and daring. His calm leadership inspired confidence even in the face of potential disaster. The enemy fleet pressed forward, firing energy blasts and deploying advanced drones. Yet each attack was anticipated and redirected. Human teams sabotaged communication links, disrupted power channels, and created confusion within the enemy ranks. Cerealia realized, with growing admiration, that humans were not fragile creatures to be dismissed. They were clever, adaptable, and brave, capable of shaping the outcome of battles even in the heart of a vast empire. Elias observed every movement carefully, issuing commands through secure channels. "Squad 2, redirect energy flow to Node 7. Squad 4, intercept the drones approaching from Sector 9. Maintain formation and stay calm. Precision will save us." His orders were executed flawlessly. Humans and Cerealian allies worked seamlessly together, each action building upon the other. Where the enemy expected chaos, they found coordination. Where they expected fear, they found courage. And where they expected surrender, they found resistance in the form of intelligence and teamwork. Hours passed, yet the momentum never faltered. The enemy began to falter, their formations breaking under the combined strategy of humans and Cerealians. Ships collided, communication channels failed, and their plans collapsed in a way that only careful observation adaptation, and courage could achieve. Finally, the enemy flagship was isolated, surrounded by a combination of human ingenuity and Cerealian power. Its weapons were neutralized, its fleet in disarray. Elias's voice, calm and authoritative, issued the final commands. Now all units converge. Focus your energy on disabling their systems. Precision, teamwork, and courage. We finish this together. The enemy flagship surrendered, signaling the end of the battle. The storm of energy that had threatened the system dissipated, leaving fleets intact and critical infrastructure unharmed. Queen Cerealia allowed herself a moment of relief, tempered by admiration for the human who had orchestrated the plan. Elias lowered himself into a chair in the observation chamber, breathing steadily. Humans had survived impossible odds before, and today had been another demonstration of their ingenuity, courage, and adaptability. Mara looked at him with awe, whispering, "Captain, you did it again. You actually did it." Elias shook his head slightly. "It was not me alone. Humans survived by working together, observing and acting wisely. Today, humans proved that courage and intelligence are as powerful as fleets and weapons." Queen Cerealia approached, her eyes bright with admiration. "Captain Elias, you and your people have done the impossible. Humans have proven that even in the face of overwhelming odds, they can lead, adapt, and triumph. Your species is remarkable." Elias inclined his head respectfully. "Your Majesty, humans survive because we adapt, cooperate, and act decisively. We respect strength, but we also show ingenuity when faced with challenge. That is what makes us resilient." The Queen studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Indeed, humans are not just survivors. They are leaders, problem solvers, and capable of shaping outcomes where others fail. Today, you have earned the respect of my empire." Outside, the Cerealian fleets celebrated their victory, but it was clear who had made the difference. Humans, led by Elias Ward, had shown the power of courage, intelligence, and teamwork. They had turned a dire situation into a triumph, proving that even a single human could influence the course of a vast empire. Elias and Mara returned to their quarters, tired but satisfied. "Captain," Mara said, smiling, "humans are being respected now. They've seen what we're capable of." "You've done more than survive, you've inspired them." Elias nodded. "Humans have always survived, Mara, but survival is not enough. Today we showed them that we are capable of more, of leadership, strategy, and courage. That is how humans thrive." The next day, Queen Cerealia summoned Elias to her throne room once more. This time it was not a test or a challenge, but a recognition. She stood before him, her expression calm yet warm, a rare softness in her eyes. "Captain Elias," she said, "humans have earned a place in the consideration of this empire. Your courage, intelligence, and leadership have proven invaluable. I see now that humanity is not to be underestimated. You have my respect." Elias inclined his head. "Thank you, Your Majesty. Humans survive because we act wisely, cooperate, and adapt. We respect strength, but we also respect opportunity and intelligence. That is what we offer: courage, ingenuity, and determination." Cerealia smiled faintly. "And that is why humans will not be forgotten. You walked into my empire willingly, faced impossible odds, and emerged respected, not feared. You have shown that even in a galaxy of wonders and dangers, humans are remarkable." Elias allowed himself a small smile, a mixture of pride and relief. Humans had survived the impossible before, and now, in the heart of the Cerealian Empire, they had done it again, not through overwhelming power, but through intelligence, courage, and the spirit that had always defined humanity. As he left the throne room, Elias felt a quiet satisfaction. Humanity had survived, inspired, and triumphed. They had shown that courage, intelligence, and adaptability could overcome even the greatest challenges. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, a reminder of the boundless possibilities that awaited humanity. The Cerealian Empire had seen what humans were capable of, and the galaxy would never underestimate them again. Humans had survived the impossible before, and now, in the heart of a vast empire, they had triumphed, proving that even a single human with courage, intelligence, and determination could change the course of history.